Welcome to Late Night with Linda Rosa, where we get down to the arts of the matter. My darlings queridos, welcome y bienvenidos to Late Night with Linda Rosa, getting down to the art of the matter. Welcome. How are you guys? I hope everyone's doing great. I hope you guys have enjoyed the season so far. We've talked about so many different topics and so many different things. I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for your support and for your continued support. And stay tuned for more because we got more coming. But on this week's episode, I'm calling it the art of seeing light through darkness. And I'm going to tell you why. This is actually a special episode. We actually did a pre-recorded interview with the artist of the week, Yosaris, who is a writer and actress. And we're getting into some really deep, serious topics. She's definitely sharing her story. And I think she's really brave. I think her story is something that's going to affect a lot of people. And I really hope that it affects them in a way where if you know someone who needs help, that, you reach out. And if you think you need help, that you find the strength within her to seek for help as well. I know that I think that for some people, it just may be like embarrassing or they're shameful or you don't want to open up these wounds, but I think everyone has at some point in their life has been affected by something that they put so far back in the back burner of the brain that you could probably forget about it until something triggers it. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things like emotional trauma, physical trauma, mental trauma, coping, how the people around her have reacted to her telling her story, because guys, her story is raw. There's no filter. You know what I mean? She's telling her story, her truth as is. The pain because I've read all of her blogs. I've read everything she's written and put out on her website, and it's like it's almost like she's taking you there. So we're going to talk a lot about that. And it's definitely an emotional topic. We're definitely getting emotional about it. So I think that this is a great episode for, just to either become informative or, maybe you want to buy her book and maybe it'll help you or someone get through some, something that they're hurt by or some form of trauma or anything like that. Everyone's story is different, but still important, because our feelings are important. And I think I can just say that I'm not a professional by any means, but I think it's important that we are mindful of our emotions, because if it's one thing that I learned is when you don't deal with them, you somehow project it, whether it's your behavior or your treatment of others or treatment of self. So I think this is a really, really great topic, and it's really inspiring to see how she saw the light through darkness. And I hope that, whoever's listening or watching, that you listen and enjoy. And please feel free to message me and Yosaris if you have any questions or anything like that. So without further ado, here is the artist of the week, Yosaris.
My darlings queridos, welcome back. Now I got the artist of the week. I've known her since high school times. Yosaris was I knew she wasn't from town. I met her and I just knew from jump she had a different flow, she had a different vibe. I just knew she wasn't necessarily from Jersey. And I think we met in class or something, and then we became cool. And then that was that, and you were, for me, I didn't really see you on social media for a while, and then you did come back. Mm-hmm. And now I'm seeing such growth, and I really can't wait to get into your projects. So let me tell you guys a little bit about why I wanted her on this podcast. She's got 2 really amazing projects happening. She's quite the writer, guys. She talks about real experiences on her blog. It's open on another level. These are the kind of things that I don't think a lot of people, women or men, may feel comfortable discussing. And I can't wait to really get into the details of that, because I read every single blog that she has right now. And let me tell you, I felt like, Yosaris, I felt like your blog, Yosaris, on yosaris.com,
Yeah.
I felt like I was on the journey with you. Like
Nice.
I
That's
saw the
exactly where I'm at.
yeah, like when you talked about the the ratings from 1 to 10 and the difference from the first blog to the 10th blog, it was like, you're showing the benefits of coaching and therapy and swallowing that heavy pill. Like I have so many questions. But and then she's also working on her book, Reflections, Conversations with God, and I really can't wait to get into that, because I feel like having conversations with God is also a reality check that a lot of us are not ready to face all the time.
Yeah.
So being able to see someone who has had these conversations, been able to swallow those pills, that reality check from God himself, and be able to move forward, I think it's important. But before we get into all that wonderful stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you started these projects and what inspired you to start these projects.
Sure. Okay. So, I love being on your show. I'm so excited to be here, first of all. So excited.
Thank you.
So, if most of it, for those that don't know me, my name is Yosaris Rodriguez. As she stated, I am a very new author. So I just started pretty much on my launch of actually becoming an author. So I started writing right about when I was like 10 years old. So, and if you read my blogs, you kind of understand why I've suffered from sexual trauma, from abuse, from different sort of, emotional, mental, physical sort of abuse. And the only escape that I had was writing. So I would write poetry, I would write poem, I would write stories that in one way or another kind of took me out of my reality into a fantasy world. Right. And in sort of in this fantasy world, I also even became, like, I don't know if you even know, Linda, I kind of started doing acting and kind of going into that world a little bit.
Yes.
Because of that. And it was sort of that, because I was like, I want to tell stories. I want to like kind of like get out of the in a way I still wanted to get out of my reality and live into that sort of fantasy. So that's kind of when I started storytelling. It was like around 10 years old I started writing my stories. Now I've always wrote. So up until 10, up until now, I've always been a writer. So I write my experiences and more like journaling. I would write my experiences. I would kind of just, anything that I went through, I just write it out. Or I would post something on Facebook just to be encouraging to others. So the way Reflections came about, so Reflections, Conversations with God, is very much a Christian book. And pre-Christ, I was someone who was living in fear, was living in bondage, was very much not understanding my purpose in life. And it took me, I had this like immense void and I couldn't understand why I had this void. And it was until I decided to have a relationship with God, not follow religion, because I still don't comprehend religion. But for me, it was like, I want to have a relationship with God. I want to understand who God is, right? And and I was kind of in denial of reading the Bible, because I was like, oh, it's Bible, it's written. Like, man, you know how it is. You gotta get into this point of like, then I'm like, wait a second, how can I possibly know him when I'm not willing to read his story? And how could someone know me if they're not willing to read my stories, right? So I was like, the only way I'm truly gonna understand God and know God is if I read his stories. So I took on the Bible. I took on this journey with getting to know Jesus Christ. And in that moment, I started to write quotes, right? Which to me were quotes. It was like, I kept feeling something. It was like this, like urge of, I have to write this, but I didn't know where it was coming from. It was like different scenarios that would happen. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to write this. So what I started to do was, like I said, it was like a 5-year journey. And I took to Facebook, right? So I had a friend by the name of Bobby Francis who said to me, he's like, you know what? You're writing these quotes. I want you to tag them. And I'm like, for what? He's like, trust me, you're going to use it one day. Just tag them. So I said, all right, cool. So I started tagging them, # she said that, right? So anybody that looks on my Facebook, if they see my quotes, they'll see like hashtag she said that, and you know, it's quotes, but they don't understand. It's just random quotes. And these quotes were literally about me, but I think a lot of people kind of, you know, it fit other people too. So I would write these quotes, hashtag she said that, based on my sort of journey with God, all while I was still journaling this experience. So fast forward, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to put, this is when I was in the process of writing Directions. Now, Directions is a book very much about my sexual trauma. So, and mostly about my life in general. Like, I think it's super important for people to understand what a person like me had to go through, because so for those who don't know, I was raised by a single mom, and I also have a sister who has mental illness, right? And when you're raised sort of in an immigrant setting with a child with a mental disability, and then you have another child at home, people always look at that other child like, you're so strong, you're so this, you're, you know, they kind of like, they don't really think you need help. And they don't realize how much help you actually need, because
so
everything that you're doing,
you fall kind of like into the back burner a little bit.
right? You kind of get pushed back, like, oh, you don't need help. In reality, that person needs a lot of help, because that person can't voice what they're going through. And so this is when I learned the art of silence, right? So my whole life I've been sort of silent when it came to my abuse, when it came to everything that I experienced, when it came to how I felt emotionally, to the point where, you know, I attempted suicide several times. So it was sort of like that sort of marker of like, okay, I want to write Directions. I want to write this book. And honestly, I was thinking of writing it because I was like, you know what, I don't know how long I'm going to be on earth. This was my state, right? My mental state, where I was like, I don't know how long I'm going to be here on earth, and I need to make sure that I put this book out. So I was ready. I was going to put out Directions. And then I said, you know what? No one knows me as a writer. I was like, how is this book going to be impactful when no one knows me as a writer? So I decided to take on my journals that I was writing from my 5-year journey with God. And I said, I'm going to make this into a book. Because, you know, as I started to transition, I think it was 2016 that I actually got baptized. And I said, you know what, my life changed. And I know it sounds very like, you know, you get baptized, you're a sudden a different person, but you truly are. You truly sort of like come out of that and say, you know what, I am going to embrace sort of the new change, because it's not a new, it's the new change, the leaving, the ability of saying, I'm going to leave all of this behind, and I'm just going to take it all on, take this like new path, new journey in. So I was like, all right, I'm ready to embrace this. And with that, I said, since I'm ready to embrace this, I am going to also put out this book so I can at least encourage one person to want to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, right? I want at least one person. In that process, I said, I don't want to make money out of this book. Because it's a Christian book, to me, it was like, this is such an important book that I was like, I don't want to make money out of it. I have to figure out how to put it out there without it being something that, you know, necessarily only benefits me. So I turned it into a mission book. So if you know anything about reflections conversation with God, like I said, is sort of my journey, 5-year journey with getting to know Jesus Christ. It's written by dates, so it's like 2015, 2016. It's written that way. Then I have this like spoken word poetry, because I like poetry a lot. And it's a mission book, meaning all the money, so whoever buys this book, so all the money made for this book is going to go to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
Yes, I did read that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going towards that hospital, and obviously whatever percentage is going to my publisher. Reason I did this was because I wanted people to understand that, yes, it's going to change your life, and at the same time, you're going to change somebody else's life. And that is the entire idea of Christianity to me. It's like, we all have a purpose, you know, we all have this incredible purpose, and our purpose is not to only benefit us, it's to benefit the world, right? You want to bring people to him, you want to bring people to God and to be saved. So the way I looked at it was like, all right, I want to encourage, I want to heal, I want to help, and I want those who buy my book to do the same at the same exact time. So that's exactly what, that's a lot, but that's
No, no,
exactly what
no. That
Reflections is about.
no, you said it
Yeah.
perfectly. Now, there's so many questions that I have, so many. Um, so with Reflections, well, obviously the book is not out yet, but the vibe that I'm getting, I feel like this is this is kind of like your reality check, but I feel like it also provides people like a safety net, like a comfort into them searching within themselves for this reality check, whether they find it within whoever their God is. That because like I agree with you regarding religion.
Right. Yeah.
It's always been like this for me, but I believe in God, and so I always tell people whoever your God is, because
Right.
whoever he is to you, I just feel like this book is gonna help people kind of get into the real deal of who you, because I think everyone has that child inside, like you mentioned on your blog.
Yeah.
Everyone has
That inner
scars
child.
from
Yeah.
childhood that
Yeah.
they haven't opened up. There's pain, there's things, there's stories, there's things that people put so far back in the back burner of life.
Yes, indeed.
And it doesn't hit until something happens to trigger it. And
Yeah.
to kind of get into your blog, because I'm telling you guys, her book isn't out yet, but if you read the blog, you're gonna want to get the book. I want to get into these blogs so bad. You mentioned how, so for single moms who have who may have like some underlying issues or some things with their ex or the parents of their child.
Mm-hmm.
Was it difficult for you to admit to yourself that the trigger wasn't him, that the trigger was your daughter? I feel like a lot of moms won't admit that it's their past being projected a little bit.
It was probably the hardest blog to write and to admit, and to hear my life coach say that to me, and for the sort of like light bulb to go off in me. That was hard. And I said it in my blog, that was the hardest. That was a hard pill to swallow, because like, and this is the thing, him and I have such a weird history, right? So of course you're going to blame the person who in your eyes is not doing things the way you want them to be done, right? Because that's another thing. It's like my way. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's, what I wanted wasn't done, so it's wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So trying to look at it that way, where I was like, you have to understand that he's not a trigger. He's not doing anything to trigger you. He's barely even talking to you. Your trigger is the example that you're looking at. And it's true. I literally was looking at my child and saying, she's going through everything I'm going through, without ever asking her, how do you feel? And that was one of those like moments of like, shoot, I need to stop this, because now I'm not only reflecting my movie, right? My problems, the stuff that I'm going through, I'm slowly damaging my child without even realizing it. I'm causing all these anxiety on my child that doesn't need to be there, because I'm angry for no reason, right? I'm like upset obviously it's affecting me, because I'm looking at this man like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. And he's triggering me, and every time I'd be around him, it'd be this like, you could cut the tension, but like, it was so bad because I was like upset. And I was working on myself, trying to be like, okay, I have to, I have to be around this person. I have to tolerate this person. I have to try to co-parent. And I couldn't, because I was like, no, he's not getting it. He's so immature. He's so this, he's so that, he's so that, he's doing this, he's doing that. And all along, I'm like, wait a second. Did I ever say, Jay, how do you feel? Jay, is what he's doing causing you such and such? Never. I just assumed, because of what I was feeling. Okay. That she was feeling the same thing. Yeah.
Do you?
And that's
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you also realize? Well, I know you did, but what was it like realizing that the same thing that hurt you the most, you were low key kind of doing to your daughter, because you felt like, because the thing is, you felt like you weren't being heard because you weren't being asked.
Yeah.
So it was like similar, but it's not like you did it intentionally. Just like you explained that it wasn't done intentionally, but it still affected you.
But that's how trauma works,
Mm.
right? If you ever think of trauma, trauma is almost like a cycle. And until it's broken and until you say pause, it's just going to keep circling. And it's going to go, now it's no longer your trauma, now it's generational trauma. Now it's going to be the mother of this mother, like it literally just keeps going. It doesn't stop until someone says, I'm going to cut this out right now. So yes, you're right. I unintentionally was sort of, like I said, I was damaging my own child and keeping her in this bubble, thinking I was protecting her. And I wasn't. I really wasn't, because, and I had to actually sit down and have a conversation with her. And I explained to her, I said, you know what? I need you to tell me how you actually feel. And I'm going to back up. And I'm going to let you have your relationship with your father, because, like the life coach said something to me that was also very interesting. She said, she chose him as her father, and she chose you as her mother, and it is your duty to figure out why, but not to prevent her from living out her movie, So at this point, like, because of that, I had to sit down and go, all right, you know what? I'm going to accept the fact that that is who she chose. And granted, she loves that man, and who am I to ever come in between, right? Who am I to ever come in between, like, something so precious just because of what I went through? I was like, no, you know what? Whatever decisions she formulates after their relationship, that's on her, and I will always be there to have her back. But I also needed to step back and say, my trauma is my trauma, and I need to cut it out now. I need to fix that. I need to make sure I cut that trauma so it doesn't circulate and affect my child, my grandchildren, or any generation after me. You know what I mean? It stops with me, and I needed it to stop with me.
Yeah. So I'm not a mom, but for the moms out there, whether you're still with the with the father or the parents, what would you tell them? You've had the blessing of being able to have a life coach. What about those who may not have access? What would you tell them when they may be dealing with the exact same situation, and they realize, oh wow, maybe that's the issue. Maybe that he's not the trigger. What would you tell them to maybe help them kind of get through, other than getting help? Because I do think it's important to speak to someone. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying, if someone's listening right now and they're relating to what you're saying, what would you tell them if they were like, well, what should I do? How deal with the pain of understanding that I may have emotionally hurt my child without wanting to?
I always say, ask the why, right? Because that's another thing, that I had to learn throughout the way is when you're presented with a situation or with a problem, you have to kind of like take yourself back and say, but why is it affecting me? And go deeper. Because I think once you start pulling layers, you start to realize what really is the problem, right? When you start to actually analyze it. And I always tell people, take a day, take 2 days before you react to something. Take a few days to just sort of like mentally take it all in and go, you know what? Because you don't want to also act in emotion, right? You don't want to act towards your child or towards, the person who you had a child with. You don't want to act in a state of emotion. You want to act in a rational way where it's like, all right, let me peel it off. And once you start to peel off, it's easier for you to go, oh no, this is nothing to do with that person. This is nothing to do with this person. Now you start to figure out the mirror, right? The mirror effect, where it's like, now you're looking at yourself. And now yourself is looking at your inner self and your inner child. And you slowly start to figure out this is a trauma that you haven't dealt with. But I think it's, like I said, it's more of like taking time to analyze it, ask the why questions constantly, like, but why do I feel this way? But why did this happen? But why did I react this way? But why did that trigger me when this person said this? Or why, when my child started crying, why did I get so affected? Like, you sort of have to kind of get to that point of the why questions, and then take a few days off. Okay. Because once you take a few days off without, responding to anything or getting super angry about something, you start to kind of say, all right, well, is this really worth me getting super upset about? And how can I have handled this differently? Or how can I, because at the end of the day, yeah, you want to hold people accountable. I'm not saying, if someone's not being a parent, you want to sort of say, all right, well, let me let it slide because this is my trauma of something. No, but at the same time, you also want to
acknowledge
your own personal issues, right? Because, and this is another thing, my life coach keeps telling me, I'm not God, you're not God, right? Because another thing as parents we want to do is, we're nurturers by nature, and we want to fix everything. We want to fix everybody, and we think we can fix it. We can fix the situation, we can fix the environment, we can fix the family, we can fix everything. No, you can't. No, you cannot. You can fix you. You're responsible for you. You can fix what's within you. You can fix your trauma, but you can't fix that other person. And I had to learn that. I can't fix that situation. I can't fix any of that. What I can do is fix myself and provide a positive role model for my child, and allow her to have her personal relationship with who she feels comfortable with, and knowing that if she needs me, I'm here. Okay. But I'm gonna mind my business. That's literally it. I'm gonna mind mine.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
as long as my child is not hurt in any way, shape, or form,
then you're good. It's crazy because I tell my mom this all the time. I'm like, Mommy, you can't help everybody. You can't save everybody. I know, like, because with everything happening with my cat, she's like, yo no quiero que tú llores. I was like, but you can't control that.
Right.
Like, Mami, yo tengo que sobrevivir esto. Yo tengo que pasar por esto.
But as mothers,
I know.
As mothers, we want to fix. Yeah. We want to, without realizing we're really not fixing. We're enabling. We're sort of like putting you in a bubble, because we want to protect you so bad that we're like, okay, keep you in a little bubble. Nothing's gonna happen to you. And that's within. That's like, well, what happened to you that you felt like now she needs to be in a bubble, right? Because that's what those are the questions that needs to be sort of answered. Like, well, if you want to, you can't handle seeing her cry, well, what happened to you that provokes that type of emotion towards her? You see what I'm saying? So that's where it starts to become questions and analyzing and figuring it out, so that you deliver correctly, so that you are somebody that can,
Yeah, like, as opposed to constantly getting upset and being like, well, you did XYZ. It's not even about that. It's why are you upset? Why is it affecting you? Like, I get what you're saying. It's like you're constantly asking yourself why, to the point where you get to a chord till something hits and you're like, God.
Yeah. And so, you fix it, because we hide trauma. You ever watch somebody who or perfect my life, like I for the longest time hid in materialistic things, in overachieving things, and trying to prove that I am worthy through materialistic things. And that's what you do. You mask trauma. You want to clean yourself up so much, without realizing that God cleaned you already, but you cleaned yourself up so much to try to perceive. But within, you're still that trauma broken person, because you never fixed within, you fixed outside. You fixed everything else but the core.
And honestly, I could tell you firsthand, like, am I where I want to be? No. And I'm pretty sure, I think all of us at some point should talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that if we constantly hide behind what we're putting out, which is this, one day you're going to break. And it's going to be hard.
Yes, you are.
So I think that we all need to, at some point in our lives, get to a point where we understand that we have to do a lot of self-reflection.
Yes.
Because you got to understand, man, everybody ain't after you. You messing up sometimes. Sometimes it's not other people. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes it's me. And it's a hard pill to swallow. But and speaking of dealing with trauma, God, I'm telling you, her blogs are great in the sense that it's not like, it's great in the sense where you feel it, not like a cutesy, you know what I mean? Like, it's real, and you've dealt with some things like sexual intimacy at 4 years old. Like, I'm not trying to take you back there, but I
Yeah.
was so taken aback by that. Like,
Oof.
what was, yeah, it's hard for me to ask the question because I want to ask the
Oh,
right
that's okay.
question.
Yeah.
It's like, how, okay, so you said at 6 years old, I just want to know from the age of 4, how were you able to hold on till you made it here? And how was it dealing with that kind of trauma? Because I know that there's women and men that have gone through very similar things. And like, again, these are things that are still left in the back burner, but how have you been able to cope for all this time?
So I'll kind of explain before I do that just how this all started, because I
Yeah,
think
please.
kind of going to the core of it, and then
No, of course.
so initially, like I said, I was writing reflections, and reflections was kind of, like I put it out, I had the publishing, everything was all set. My life coach reached out to me, and she was able, because she's gone through her own sexual trauma and her own sort of like traumas herself, she was able to say, there's more than. Now, if you look at my social media, right, you've seen my social media, and for the most people that see it, they see this very well put together person. You know what I mean? They see this like, okay, very positive. I try to put things out there that are super positive, and this image of like someone who has it together. Now, whoever would to look at my social media can never tell you, hey, she has experienced suicide, has experienced sexual trauma, has done all these different things. Like, no one would be able to tell you that. You know what I mean? Like, just looking at my, at my social media. So
hard to share this story. Geez, like,
yeah, it was one of those things. Like, when she reached out, I was taken back. I was like, how did she even see this? So when she reached out and she was like, I want to be your life coach, right? She kind of just flat out, we were talking about it. She was like, I want to be your life coach. And my thought was, I'm going to journal it. I'm going to journal this whole experience, and and usually when I write my journal, I'm very raw. Like, I write exactly how I feel, exactly what I'm doing. And it's to that point because I like to read back and know exactly how I felt. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put this out there as blogs, because I don't just want this to change my life. I want this to change somebody else's life if possible. That's honestly, that's kind of how I took it. I was like, I'm ready to just, heal every, heal me and heal somebody else. Little did I know it was going to open up, more than I thought it was. Like, I literally not only told my story to my family, but I told it to the world. And I don't think I considered that when I was doing it. So my abuse. So going back to blog 1, she kind of, when she started to do the pies with me, I realized how low I was with certain aspects of my life. And it broke me for a second, because I'm a perfectionist, right? So I like to be at a certain, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this, that. And to not be there, I was like, I was so hard on myself at that moment. But I wrote, and I just, like I said, I wrote it literally right after I met with her, because I was like, I want whoever reads this to read it knowing exactly how I feel and to feel it. I want them to actually connect with me. I want them to get the real Yosi, not the social media Yosi. So, or Yosaris. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna write it, and I'm going to be super raw. So my abuse, when you're abused at 4 years old, you don't forget that, unfortunately. You don't, I remember the person, I remember what occurred, I remember everything that happened, unfortunately. You don't forget that, because there's certain things that happen in your body, obviously, like when you're in an intimate situation, that as a child you just don't understand. And I didn't understand it, and because it happened from a woman, to me it was just like it was
that got me. I was like,
right, it takes you, it kind of, like, I mean, the whole body anatomy of it, just, to me at 4 years old, didn't make sense, right? So you don't forget that. That's something that marks you. It's like when you get into a car accident, there's certain things that like your brain just stores certain things. And as a 4-year-old, that's what I stored. I literally can tell you exactly what this person looks like, what she was wearing, what she smells like, literally to detail, because of how much it affected me. Now, you fast forward, and, you know, at that point, I'm thinking, all right, I'm now in the United States of America. That's over. I don't have to relive that ever again in my life. Then I see my mom getting physically abused, right? So now you're looking at this, look at this as a child, right? So you're thinking, okay, my parents left me, right, when I was 1. So I wasn't raised with them until when I got 4.5, 5 years old, when I came to the US. So all those years, I was sort of in other people's homes, feeling neglected in a way, right? Then I get abused. Then I come to the United States. Then I have to witness physical abuse. And neglect still, because it was still very much neglectful. I ended up in a coma when I entered the United States because I was so malnutrition from the Dominican Republic. So I literally spent almost 6 months intensive care unit. That part I didn't even write, but I spent about 6 months in the intensive care unit, and I went back from a 4-year-old to a 2-year-old. So I was doing bottles. I was getting, you know, I had diapers. Like this is a full 5-year-old kid at this point. Now I'm having to, you know, relive my 2-year-old stage because of how malnutritioned I was. So that happens. Physical abuse is in my family. My father leaves. Again, I'm still thinking like, you know, where's the happy part? You know, where's this happy part happening? Then because of, you know, my mom just couldn't bear with the bills, she welcomed other people to live in our home. And that's where the abuse happened from the age of 6 up until, oh, how long was I with that person? Probably like 10. Yeah. And then after that, it was another person, another person, another person. So I was probably abused up until 15.
Wow.
So I don't know life, right? I do not. So now you have to understand as a child what you think, right? I started to think this was part of my job. I started to think like, in order for my mom to pay bills, I have to be that sacrifice. I have to shut up and I have to take it all in, and I have to behave in school, and I have, like, I got responsibilities at such a young age with all that trauma that you don't know how to speak. You don't know how to act at that point. This was pretty much my life. So I wanted those blogs to express that, because this is what's going to be written in directions. Obviously in directions, I'm going to go into details about my entire life, but I wanted the blogs to represent exactly what my life coach was able to get out of me, word for word, and everything that I felt and everything that I had to relive. The hardest, and excuse me if I start crying.
No, please.
The hardest for me is my sister's abuse. And it's still going to be the hardest thing for me, because, and not because of what happened to her, more because I felt like she protected me from getting raped and I didn't protect her from getting raped. You know what I mean? I didn't say anything. I didn't defend her. I didn't speak up until now. I'm 33 years old. That happened when I was 10 years old in the Dominican Republic when we went on vacation. Like, for that to happen to her and I not do nothing. And we come to the United States, you know, back to the United States after our vacation, and she helped me get out of, you know, my abuse or my rape. That hits you differently. So I lived with that guilt forever. So because of that guilt, watching my sister grow up and watching my sister, if those who know my sister, she has epileptic seizures, watching my sister have seizures and going through all these things that she goes through, I felt like a punk. I felt like a coward. I felt like what? Like what am I here for? Like all the stuff that I've been through, and I'm still a punk, and I'm still a coward, and I still don't know how to speak up. You know? So when my life coach came into my life, it was as if I finally, like, someone opened a vessel of, like, pour it all out. It's time for you to let go. It's time for you to speak up. And I want other people, and I know there's so many other people like me who've had to, you know, who currently right now still silent and
Or
haven't
carry
spoken,
that guilt, or
or
carry that
carry
guilt.
guilt, right? Or still living that guilt, or still living all of that situation, and they're not speaking up. And it took me at the age of 33 years old, as a grown woman, as a mother, to sit down, you know. And like I said, I'm someone who's attempted suicide, even as a mother. And you know, having to go through that, just as like not even being able to speak up, it's tough. It's tough. It really is tough when you look at it that way. So that was mainly why the blogs came about, and why I wanted to put them out in such a raw way,
It's
where
so
people understood. Yeah. And I wanted the reader to like actually live it with me, because I could have wrote it very, you know, and I this is what I told my life, which I was like, I could write this, you know, after a few days, and make it pretty. You know, I could make it very pretty and make it very readable.
but
But
it
I
was
was like,
hit.
I want you to be able to say, I'm ready to speak. I'm ready to not live in bondage. I'm done living in bondage. That's exactly what I wanted those blogs to do. And it's what it's done. And of course, I'm now introduced as a writer, because I don't think people knew that I was a writer, right? Obviously, until I got, you know, reflections out. So I was like, no one knows me as a writer. I'm ready to be that writer, and I'm ready to be that writer in a way where I'm going to get you to understand me, the real me, and I'm going to encourage you to show me the real you. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, what I did want to ask about the content, because it is so raw, like
Yeah.
you don't filter anything. And it's hard not to get emotional reading, because from the outside looking in, we have all gone through things.
Yeah.
But from the outside looking in my head, I'm picturing a 4-year-old little girl scared for her life, not knowing how to process something that they're not supposed to process right now. That's not for you to understand, but you're going through it. But being that this content is so real and so raw, I wrote it down. How do you deal with the judgment of your content when people are asking mom to tell you not to post these things? How do you deal with the judgment of that? Like, how do you deal with that?
I was angry. Can I say that? I was very, very angry. And I was ready to stop all of it. I was ready to not do any of this. And then I realized, I was like, when people were telling my mom to tell me not to post these things, and I saw how I retracted so quickly, I realized, I was like, I'm putting myself back in bondage. And I am allowing people to continue to shut me up because they're uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, this is not about anybody else but me. You know, this is my freedom. This is my release. This is me saying, I am ready to let go, rather you are comfortable or not. You know, one thing I did promise my mom, and I won't do, even in my book, is I definitely will not be putting names. I will definitely not be, you know, pointing fingers. Like, those involved know what occurred. They know who they are. I am not going to, you know, put anybody out there, because I think at this point in my life, I have forgiven and I want to move forward. I don't want to hold any animosity or any anger, but I'm also not going to shut up. Rather, it makes someone uncomfortable or not, because at the end of the day, I need to be released. I need to let go. And this is for me. This is my journey. This is not their journey. You know, rather they are accepting of it, you know, and once my mom accepted it, that is all I needed. Once she understood, once I told her the full story, and she finally embraced it, and she finally said, I got you, nobody else mattered.
And then you did write that she said she would rather you open up than you be gone because you didn't, or something along those words.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was all I needed to hear. I've been waiting to hear that. I've been waiting to hear her say, it's not your fault. I've been waiting to hear my mom say, none of this was your fault. And I'm here and I got you, you know? And I was too much of a coward in a way to speak up, to tell her what was happening. Although I felt like in certain instances, you were there, you were present. Why didn't you stop it? And I had to take on the understanding of my mom. If you know my mom, she's very much this woman of like, she's not a pervert. You know what I mean? Like my mom is so innocent minded that she thinks everybody's like her. And I had to get her to understand that. I was like, no, not everybody's like you. You know, you witnessed the abuse in a way with certain situations, and you didn't know that was abuse. You didn't know that was inappropriate to do, because you don't look at a child with desire like a pervert would, right? So I think once she accepted that, and I told her, I was like, I need you to accept this is not your fault. I'm not saying you're a bad mother. I'm not saying you failed me as a mother. I'm saying this happened, and I need you to be accepting of it, and I need you to let me tell my story and have my back. That's it. And once she said she got me, that's it. Everything else after that was like,
Don't even care.
you guys, be mad. Be mad. I'm okay.
And so, kind of segue off of that, one of the things that you wrote that kind of hit me heavy was where I felt uncomfortable was where the feeling of being unworthy was.
Yes.
And I feel like we in general all feel uncomfortable. And I had an episode talking about getting out of the comfort zone. And I wish that I read your blog before I did the episode, because wow, that's a heavy statement. Where I felt uncomfortable was where the feeling of being unworthy was.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that and how you surpassed that?
Yeah. So, all right, let me tell you the story because it's crazy. So that weekend, right? My daughter's family was doing a birthday party for my daughter. And the following day, I was going to Jersey to meet with my family. So I had it all planned in my head how things were going to go. I was like, all right, I know I'm going to be uncomfortable because I have to be around my daughter's father and his spouse and, the family. And I have to kind of like, just, like I knew I was going to be in a place where I was not going to be comfortable, right? So I thought. I get there and it's the total opposite. I'm feeling comfortable. We're having conversations. And it's because, one thing my life coach said, she was like, you know what? There's only two reasons why you would be uncomfortable. One is because they mirror something you don't like about yourself, or two is because they trigger something about your past. And because they did neither of those two things, I felt comfortable. I was like, they don't mirror anything that I want to fix. And I realized he's not my trigger. My daughter is. Right? So at that point, I was able to go, wait, I'm comfortable. I'm good. So we were having conversations. The whole party went great. Then I go to Jersey. This is where it gets good, right? I go to Jersey. I'm like, this is my family. There's no way I'm gonna be uncomfortable. I'm gonna be vibing. Like I was ready to be lit.
Yeah.
I was ready. Girl, I get there and I am so uncomfortable. And I feel the eyes and I feel the people not knowing how to treat me. And this is my family, not knowing like if to hug me or if not to hug me. And I have one particular person, I'm not going to say what this person is to me. I have one particular person in my family who I don't speak to at all, just because of who this person is, right? Like there's just been instance that at this point, I feel like, you know what? I am no longer going to entertain negativity.
Right.
But I realized she is a mirror to me. She is my mirror. And so because this person is my mirror, that's where I was able to understand like where I was uncomfortable was where I thought I wasn't worthy. I was reminded that I am dark-skinned, that my hair looks a certain way. Like I don't resemble some of my family members, that I might, that in my family we're looked as, oh, poor Giovanni with the girl with mental illness and the daughter and her father who's dead. And like, that's where I felt unworthy. And until I fixed that thought process, until I kind of sat down and realized like, shoot, my family is my trigger, a trigger for me. That's where I was like, okay, I need to fix this because I am worthy. You know, I am worthy to be anywhere, and I am worthy to be who I am. But you don't see that until someone starts pointing things out to you. Because I always thought, like, you know, if you know me, you know, anytime I'm around my family, I drink. I drink a lot. Did I think that was a bad thing? No, I just thought I just drink, you know, I'm vibing.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was trying to mask what I was feeling without realizing it. You know what I mean?
Is that the same as you saying that using failed friendships, relationships, or emotional disconnect as a defense mechanism? Is that the same? Like, is that what you kind of were getting at?
Say it again. If I was what?
So you know how you said you were like that the family was a trigger, and that you know you just felt uncomfortable, that using failed, because you put in one of your blogs, in one of the most in the oldest blogs, like one or two, that using failed friendships, relationships, or emotional disconnect as a defense mechanism.
Yes.
Those two are, is that how, what you were trying to
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So I literally, my defense mechanism was alcohol. My defense mechanism was to sort of like push people away, you know? So having failed relationships, having failed friendships, having all these like failed situations in a way was part of my defense mechanism, because I felt like I had to protect, you know, and I felt like I had to hide and mask. So it was always like, all right, you know, time to hide, time to not, you know, show the real me type of thing. So yeah, that was definitely my defense mechanism.
Okay.
Alcohol was one of that, for sure.
Now I'm just curious. I know you said that when you went to this particular house party, the family party, that everyone was kind of being really cautious. Was it because your blog was already out and they were like, yeah, she's in here, cuidado, like?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
That was right after my sister's situation. Like, my aunts were in shock. My aunts were like, you know, when did this happen? When did this, not with my sister, but with my abuse starting at 4. They were like, they were shocked at the 4-year-old abuse, at the rest of the abuse. And at the same time, they were like, why is she putting what happened to Rosa out there? You know, and now my cousins having to question their parents, like, why didn't you act on this? Why didn't you, you know, like, we were all young. And not to defend them, because I will never defend a situation like this, but I think the way they looked at it was they had to protect 2 children in the situation. And the only way to do it was to just avoid them being together, right? Or in a way like separating it, but not really acting on it or speaking on it.
Not rectifying, but just separating.
Right, just kind of like, let's just, you know, granted, we've still had to see this person during Christmas, and, you know, so to me, it was like, I don't think they understood that I was still there. Like, it was like, it goes back to the part of like, oh, she's so strong, she's this, she's that. It was like, well, I still know about this, and I still saw it, and I was still a part of this, and there was no healing for me. There was no talk about it for me.
There was no resolution. You know,
right. When are we put in the background? At what point do we defend my mom, my sister, and I? Why is it that we are always somehow sacrificed, and everybody else? Because, like I told my cousins, had it been your kid, you would have went off. Had it been my daughter, Lord knows, I have a nice little mugshot right now. You know, so where for me, it's I'm still stuck at the where do we feel like my sister should have been defended? Yeah, where? Like, this is a disabled person. Why wasn't, you know, and I understand this is a 15-year-old who did it at that time, but I felt like they cared more about them than they did my family.
And it was, again, they put you guys in the back burner again.
They put us in the back burner. That's how I felt. And again, I understand 100% where they were coming from in this situation, where they felt like, how do we fix this quickly? But did I wish they would have handled it differently? Yes, of course. I definitely do. I definitely wish it would have been handled way differently.
Yeah, I understand. And how, and then we're gonna get to a little bit more lighter things, because I want people to understand how much you've grown from. Yeah. But before we get to that, how do you deal, for people that go through this as well, and it's within family, and the situation is similar, how do you deal with your family now, being that person is still around, everybody knows now, or a majority of the family knows because of the blog? So how do you handle it now that people are more aware?
I have learned to be forgiven. You know, I forgive, because this was a way of me releasing. Do I hold any anger towards them? No. Do I, do I trust this individual around my child? Of course not. You know, there's just no if or buts on that. Regardless of the age of this person, I don't trust this person around my child, or around my sister. But I think at this point, I'm just like, I have developed sort of the idea of just accepting people for who they are, and not trying to, rectify what occurred. I'm more of like, you know what, I want to heal from it. My sister has managed to heal from it. It's never sort of affected her in a way, right? Like, if you see my sister, she's this happy-go-lucky person who dances all day long, and it was only killing me, honestly. And I think until I released that, and until I accepted whatever was coming my way, and it's going to get worse, because once the book comes out, I'm sure it's just going to get worse. But like I told my mom, now it's a pre-information. Now they know what's coming, rather they wanted to hear it or not, because this is a chance for me to be released from all of this. So I love my family. I will never, ever, ever throw stones, because I am not perfect. And I am sure I've made decisions that people question my intent all the time. So I can't judge them based off of what I thought they could have did differently. I just want to release myself from this guilt and move forward. And I will love them always. I pray that they love me always and accept me for, what I've become and what I want to do with my life. That's really it.
Okay. So why would women, especially women of color, benefit from listening or watching your content?
Why women of color? Truthfully, I think,
or women, period.
You know what? I'm gonna stick to women of color, and I'll go back only because women of color were perceived constantly as strong, right?
Yes.
If you're Black or you're Hispanic, you have, especially if you're Black, people have this narrative in their head of, you don't feel, or you shouldn't be emotional because you're so strong, and you can hold the world in your back. And so they have this preconceived narrative, right, of what a woman is, or what a woman of color is. And then we're sexual beings, right? This is another thing that irks me too. It's like, women of color, Hispanic women, are perceived as sexual beings. The reason why I think people would benefit from my blog is because they'll finally have the courage to say, no, I'm not a sexual being. I am a woman who's capable of being intelligent, who's capable of holding a conversation, who's capable of feeling sad, of feeling not strong, of feeling like I don't have it all together. I am that woman. I don't need to be controlled. I don't need to be told how to feel, what to do, what to wear. Like I am. So that's where I feel like my blogs, my book, especially Reflections, because the title is what it says, reflect. When you reflect, you look within, you look outward. And when you're having a conversation with God, you're saying, you know what, God, I'm ready to be that woman who speaks up for myself, right? Without constantly being told, oh, you're strong, you don't need this help. And another thing is too, it's like, I really do want, especially women of color, to want to seek for help, because this world right now is so damaging to women of color. It's so downgrading to women of color, especially to like very intelligent, women that want to that want to speak their mind. For some reason, they're not as I don't even know what the word is. They're not as soft with that type of women. And I do honestly want these women to, hey, get some therapy, seek for someone, seek for community, for someone to hold you accountable, for you to be able to release, for you to be able to speak your frustrations, for you to put yourself out there. It's time. So, and I really do pray that that's the reaction people take out of my blogs, especially, like I said, especially women of color. I really do want them to look at my blogs, look at my books, and even connect with me in a way where they feel like, you know what, you're right. I need to seek for help, and I need to release. And it's okay not to have it all together. And it's okay not to be, perceived as strong. You don't have to be strong. You just have to be who you want to, right? Be you. Be you. If for whatever reason you shouldn't put a front to please society. Right? Sometimes you're not strong. Sometimes you're ready to just say, you know what, I need to just relax for a day. I need to take all of this off and just lay down and not do anything. And that's okay. As is okay to be super strong. But I don't like the narrative of like that is what a woman of color or Hispanic women are. I don't like the narrative of strong sexual being. I don't like it. I think it's, just let us be women, great women. That's it.
So speaking of that, why don't you just tell me the definition of the importance of women empowerment?
Oh, right. I listen here. I think it's so important. I think when you have, like, I don't view another woman as a competition, right? I don't, and I don't like it because I honestly think this woman has, like, let's say for instance, you and I, you have so much to offer to the world, right? You have this voice of your experience of something that you've been through, and you can relate to me in a completely, in a different way that could inspire something in me to inspire the next woman, right? Why not create a community to say, you know what, let's you voice something, she voices something, let's support what she's doing, let's support what she's doing. Why a competition? When what you have to offer, right, or what you have to say is going to empower another little girl to look at you and go, I want to be like her. And I want to be like these group of women, because instead of fighting with each other, they decided, you know what, let's unify. Let's really be powerful together. So I love the idea of women empowerment. I hate the whole segregation, the whole, like, there's this thing too where it's like, if you're a Hispanic woman or you're a Black woman, like, and I think this is because of the lust factor, right? It's like, oh, these men go for these women. There's this a little bit of sort of competition. No, we're at the end of the day, we're women of color. And even if you're a white woman, you have a story to tell. You have a life that's lived that I can't relate to, but you can inspire another little girl, and together we can inspire a group of little girls. Why separate that? You know what I mean? Why? Well, in whose right mind does it make sense for me to ever compete? When I actually look at different women's podcasts and different journeys that people go through, like their channels, their YouTube channels, and I'm inspired, and I'll, like, some women I actually share some of their content, and some I just watch and I'm uplifted, and it's inspired me. It's never ever, there is no way in a million years my message will ever be the same as your message.
Right. And
so there's no reason why I can't support you and you can't support me.
And I couldn't agree more, because, like, I think the problem is that people feel like there's like a limit in opportunity or a limit in status it's not. There's space for all of us. You know what I'm saying? I look at other female podcasts and I don't look at them in a hateful way. I'm like, well, okay, I see you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be mad. Oh, There goes my hair. Hold on. I'm not gonna hate on you. I would love to collab with another podcast. Like, there's nothing wrong with working together. And I just feel like there's a sense of support that we probably didn't feel.
Sisterhood.
Yeah, there's a like a low key nonverbal sisterhood when you genuinely support each other. And it feeds my spirit. You know what I mean? And every chance that I get to compliment someone else, another woman, to support their cause, how they communicate, I'm with it. Why? Because like me and you are both Latinas, we're both Dominican, but look how different we look, and we talk different, and we communicate different. So you said it perfectly. We somos dominicana las dos. You know what I'm saying? But the way you, but the message you're sending is gonna hit different than the message I'm sending, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. The best part is that we're both reaching somebody. That's important.
Exactly. That's the point that people don't always understand.
They don't get it.
You're reaching your audience is going to be different from mine, and our audience might unify. You know, and granted, we might be speaking to the same audience, but your delivery is different than mine, and your way of convincing is different than mine, and we're stronger together than we are apart. Like I don't believe. I don't care what this woman represents, what this woman puts out there. I truly believe if someone reaches out to me, I don't care what it is. If someone reaches out to me and said, "Hey, let's unify on something," and I think it's worth it, and I think it's something that, hey, it makes sense for me, because it's, you know, if it's sort of not my avenue, I'll be like, well, let me introduce you to somebody that I know makes sense with what you're trying to do, and go from there. And now you've multiplied your audience.
Absolutely.
You know? And now not only did you help somebody else, but you helped yourself. You know, why compete? Why not? You know, I'm never going to honestly understand the competitive nature of not being unified as woman empowerment. You know,
be honest, to be real with you, I honestly think it's a sense of insecurity.
And it could all be
whole thing, don't come for me. Yeah, don't come for me unless I send for you. Nobody was sending for you, and nobody was coming for you. Nobody. Like, let's just get that out the way. You know what I mean? I'll say it. Like, nobody said that. And I think it's just to me, it's a demonstration of insecurity.
Yeah.
I think when you said earlier in our conversation regarding a mirror of me, I think that's what it is. I think there's something you see in that person that triggers something to make you feel like you gotta be competitive, or you have to make sure that they acknowledge your level.
Right.
When you realize that you don't need that kind of validation or acknowledgement, you're going to be much happier. You're going to be calmer. You know why? Because your own validation, the only one you need is really yours and God's.
That's the perfect word, validation.
Yeah.
People want validation. And when you're seeking for it, that's when you become, you know, sort of like your core. Some of those little, you know, demons starts to come out. And
because what if you don't get the validation?
Right, you're not able, this is the thing. God gives everybody gifts, right? Spiritual gifts. He gives us purpose. And when you're living in your purpose and when you're utilizing your gifts, you'll never seek for validation because you don't need it. He's already told you, this is your gift. This is your purpose. Everything else around that, I'm going to move for you. I am going to make it happen for you. I got you. All you got to do is listen and follow through. That's it. That's it. You don't have to compete. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to block somebody's blessings. You don't have to do absolutely anything but be who I made you to be. That's it. That is it. This is why I love unifying. I'm eager to always work with other women, especially with women, because I think it's empowering. What you and I connect in a womanhood such a way that I can't connect with another man. You know, I can't connect with a man in things that you and I can relate to. And again, at the same time, we're so different that we can speak to different audiences and have different things to say. and bring other people into our circle and continue to inspire. Those little girls are going to be like, you know what, I want to be like them. I want to be outspoken. I want to change the world. I want to be so much in my own self and so proud of who I am as a woman that's it, that I'm ready to take on the world.
Yeah,
You know,
and I
you did
agree.
that because you listened to your purpose.
Yeah, and honestly, I think you and I both collaborating today and talking, I think it's a great example of how two completely different people can really create something beautiful. Because we're very different. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually, I'm not filtering, I'm being respectful. You know what I mean? Like, because if you watch my podcast, I'm a little bit unfiltered.
I watch the podcast. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm
I'm
gonna have
a
to
little
like, you know.
filtered. But you know what it is? I want people to know that I am more than that unfiltered person. That I can cater to all women from all aspects, all artists. You know what I mean? And I want to make all artists feel comfortable opening up, because the purpose of the show is not to get down to the heart of the matter, it's to get down to the art of the matter. And how do I do that? But I want to make you comfortable. I welcome your artistry and I respect your hustle, you know, and as a woman, I will support, especially when you're doing something that reaches somebody, that touches somebody. People need to read this. There's people going through some serious stuff, and to read stories so raw and seeing the progression, because this is a series, guys. This is a whole series that she has from the first day of her visit with her life coach to the last, right? And it's an entire series, and you see the progression, and it's so real. It's like you feel like you're on the ride with her. And why wouldn't I support that? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like even if I didn't personally go through these things, or not all of these things, I know that there's women in Niña right now, there's little girls that are probably going through it right now. You know, there's sex trafficking. Children are missing everywhere. How many did they find recently? So it's like, I can't tell you the importance of what you're doing. Does that mean that my project is better than yours, or that yours is better than mine? No,
Absolutely not.
It just means that we're reaching the masses.
And can I say something, because it irks me, it really irks me, the idea that, because, so yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I love God, but that does not mean I don't listen to rap, R&B. I don't listen to curses. I don't have an F word sometimes that comes out of my mouth. That they're like, it happens. Like, I think people, this is why I don't follow religion, right? Because I think religion keeps you in and again, a bubble. It keeps you in this bucket of like, you know, like you have to follow rules versus God. And I follow my God. And I, like, if I'm not offended by the word fear, but I'm offended by the word F or fuck, whatever. If I'm not offended by fear, then we got a bigger problem, because I should be offended by fear, not by an F-bomb, not by any bad word. I personally don't choose to, but I shouldn't be offended by it. So if I'm listening to something you have to offer, I don't care what you have to say, because to me, I'm from New York, I'm from the Bronx, right? I'm going to listen to it in a way where I'm gonna relate to the rawness. I'm gonna relate to, she's speaking truth. She's speaking it. She's, you know, it might not be my delivery, and I don't have to accept that.
Right.
But who cares? Right? Who cares? What you're saying makes sense. And that's
I couldn't agree.
How you're saying it, how you want to deliver it, it's gonna connect to somebody.
Right.
Because it's connecting to me. So it's gonna connect to somebody whose delivery makes sense to them, because they do the same thing. Like, but it's still connecting to me.
And that's
what
I
I'm
love.
saying?
That's exactly what I was getting at. Like, you and I are very different in that sense. You know, and people are gonna be like, you were on the late night with Linda Rosa. Yeah, like, but we still relate. What you think? I can't talk to a Christian? Yes, I can. It's just, you know, it's just a matter of, it's not even about being fake, because there's nothing fake about what I'm doing. I'm genuine. And I genuinely want to understand you. So
Yeah.
I'll go out of my way to communicate in such a way that you're comfortable and I understand you and you understand me. Does that
I like that.
mean sorry? Does that mean that I'm gonna be fake and not curse? No, it's just a matter of communicating. You don't have to communicate one way, guys. And late night doesn't mean just sex, just raunchy stuff. Late night means, you know, this is the perception
Real
of late night.
topics.
It's real topics. And you know what? It's like, you know, when you go home, you put your keys down, you take off your jacket, your tie, whatever. It's late night, chilling. That's what it is. You know what I mean? I could talk about sex and raunchy things, but that's not the basis of what I'm saying. I want you to keep it real with me. You know, and I want to show people she's Christian and we deliver our artistry completely different, but it's still effective and we still understand each other. You know what I mean?
You're God's child, right?
I have no kid.
You are God. You were created.
Oh yes.
To me, it look okay. Put it like this: there's kids in Italy. Let's use Italy because there's kids in Italy, right? And there's kids in the United States of America who speaks completely different languages, right? Their delivery is different, the languages is different, everything is different, the culture is different, and then you have one God. Mm-hmm. Now, if God can be in the entire universe and connect with all these different languages, all these different cultures, and all these different people, how is it that you and I who speak the same language with different delivery can't understand each other? Make it make sense.
That's it.
Right. So if you speak the same language as me and your delivery is different, there's no reason why I can't understand you. Because if God, who's greater than us all, who covers the entire universe, in my opinion, right? You know, this is just only my opinion. If he is in the entire universe and he can understand every single language, every single delivery, every single person, how everyone feels, how everyone connects, he made you exactly how you needed to be, he gave you purpose, then if he can do it, and he has greater a conflict than I do right now, then you know where's the problem? There shouldn't be a problem. Right? So I would never understand, like, there is no reason why, like I said, I can't connect with you and be empowered by you or inspired by you or wanting to listen to everything that you have to say. No reason why not.
And I think
I'm not offended by the F-bomb, sorry.
No, you know what? I think it also comes with being humble and understanding that you have to be open in order to grow. Yes. And I'm not going to sit here and only embrace people that communicate like me, because that's not life to me. Life to me is meeting different people from different walks of life and being affected in different ways. Right. Knowledge, I believe in knowledge is beyond the books. Books is education, but knowledge is beyond. And you only get that. And you only word up. And the only way you get that is when you seek it. Yeah. So you have to be open. When you seek, you got to open. You can't seek and then sometimes, and you have to understand that everything might not necessarily be communicated your way. Right. But the message might hit how you need it. So you have to be open to different forms of communication. Yep. I couldn't agree more. So another question, and we're almost at the end, I promise, is how does culture influence your artistry? I know we spoke about women, but how does culture, how does Latinos, and how does that influence your projects, your artistry, everything? It influences in a way of you know, even going back to what we were talking about, delivery, because I think being someone who does believe in God, I can't relate to a teenager who is living through real life scenarios by throwing a Bible at them. You see what I'm saying? So I think the way I approach everything, my projects, the way I approach teenagers, if I mentor them, the way I approach people in general, I meet you where you're at, right? My projects, you know, and me as a person, if you ever sit down with me, I'm never going to be like, so Psalms 46:5 says, like, I'm not going to talk to you in a way where it's scripture based,
or where it's only Christian based or only faith based, because my personal walk with God, my personal walk with Jesus Christ is my very personal walk. And I can't expect you who hasn't done that or who hasn't lived that to understand my projects and understand my conversation if it's only geared towards that, right? So I speak, even if when reading my blogs, I'm very raw. I even when I speak, I'm very much this person of like, you're going to get a very raw person who's not gonna fake the funk of living like a Christian. I don't follow rules, right? I don't like the idea of, oh, I'm a Christian, I can't pierce my nose. Oh, I'm a Christian, I can't dye my hair. Like, I don't like the rules. I feel like, no, do you love God? Because He loves you. That's it. That's how I, that's kind of how I relate. My projects, I say, you know what, everything that I do, and I'm very purposeful too, though. I am very purposeful. I say, with whatever projects I put out, it has to be encouraging and it has to be uplifting. That's sort of my only rules to myself, where it's like, I don't want to put anything that I'm not filling somebody up.
Okay.
Even if I have to put myself in a situation where I have to be vulnerable and I have to, put myself out there more than I want to, I will, because my point is to uplift you and to inspire you to be the very best you can be and to follow your purpose, So that's kind of my approach with everything, with my projects, with my books, with my life in general. When I connect with people, I am a faithful person in my belief, but I don't approach it in a religious format.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Okay. And then before we get into, kind of your projects and what you hope for the future, is there any advice for all artists that you just want to give them, just to kind of encourage them? Anything you want to share for all starving artists?
I tell everybody, and I always say this, and I'm always going to say this, follow your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because your mind will tell you you can't, but your heart will tell you that's my passion, right? And the only reason I say this is because once you add logic to a dream, you start to kind of like, you almost start to reason with what society tells you can and cannot do, right? But once you have a dream and you say, I'm going to follow it because I love it, because it's my passion, because I want to do it with love, regardless of how many likes, regardless of how many people pay attention, regardless of what comes out of it, when you do it that way, you'll never fail. And you'll definitely never fail yourself because you followed your heart. So to all the artists, I think at the end of the day, follow your heart, follow your intuition to a degree, be mindful of what it is that you want to do, and do it with every single part of your core, your heart, your being. Like, just go for it. Just go for it. Whether someone supports you or not, go for it. That's it.
Okay. Cool. And now we can get into, just let us know. Well, you know what? Let's do it like this. Let us know about your projects, and then every single possible way that we can get in contact with you and follow you and see what you got going on a regular basis, statuses on your book and all that good stuff.
Sure. All right. So current projects, I am working on Reflections, Conversations with God. Not working on it. It's actually already with the publishing company.
Yes.
So right now we're on typesetting and illustration, which is taking forever. It's really annoying. Like not to, that's kind of like a little detail. It's really annoying. Like, honestly, editing took like 2 months, which blows my mind, because you want to think like, no, my writing skills are great. Why are you taking so long to edit my stuff? But editing took like 2 months. So right now, Reflection, Conversations with God is an illustration. I already have my cover idea. So it's going to be another 4 to 6 months before I have a release date, but it will be on my website. It will be available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Spring Harbor, a few other places. So I will have the links and the sites all in my website. My website is Yosaris.com, which is YOSARIS.com. Directions, I am currently writing. So Directions is solely about my life, and everything that I went through as far as like my trauma. That won't be out until another year or so. I want to make sure Reflections kind of like, makes it pretty big, and a lot of people do buy it. Because again, it is a mission book. So I do want to make sure San Juice benefits from it. So that's that. Directions, so be like about a year or so. My blogs are up. So if you go to yosaris.com/blog, you should be able to see all my blogs. I will continue to write more blogs. I'm actually working on a few other ones that I'm trying to figure out what avenue to go, because I did start like a life series. So if you look at my blogs, it's called Life Series Journey. It's a life series one. So I think I want to do other ones that are different series, and just kind of, until my book comes out, just kind of give you guys some content. And that is about it for now. I will be doing, once Reflection comes out, I will be doing, I'm trying to figure out if I want to do like Facebook Live or Instagram Live, where I'm going to connect with people as they're reading my book. So I think I want to do a Q&A. Yeah, I think that would be kind of nice to like do Q&A, because I want to be able to answer questions. Like if you look at like my Reflections is very much similar to my life coaching series in a book form. So it literally is dated, and it is like a life, like it explains the quote in a way. It is written almost like a journal, like a memoir. Yeah. So I really want to be able to answer any questions people have. So, and I have other little cool things that I'm thinking about. So I have more to come, but all these great things will be on my website. So again, it's yosaris.com. Blog is yosaris.com/blog. And then the books will also be in yosaris.com. So
boom. And there you have it. This interview has been super motivating and inspiring. And you know how I'm going to end it? It's going to be simple. She showed the art of letting go, the art of swallowing the pill, the fact that she's been through serious traumatic things, and to be able to surpass that, what that does is gives me the message that we can get through things, but we have to get ourselves there. You can believe in God and you can pray, but it's like they can only, how they take they can take the horse to water, but they can't teach them to drink. Yeah. You have to be able to help yourself, however it takes time. So with that being said, I just want to compliment you on your strength. I know that we talked about people and say this and that, but the thing is, I wanna compliment you on a different kind of strength. The strength that people don't acknowledge. I don't want to put your strength in a back burner, because it takes a lot of strength to be able to reflect, look at yourself, understand your struggles, understand what you went through, face it, acknowledge the people that were involved, acknowledge those who won't acknowledge, and being able to move past those who will never acknowledge, and move past that without the validation. As much as you may want it, you learn to let validation go. Yeah. And for that, I just want to thank you, because I know in my heart that this episode and your particular piece alone will reach so many people, whether it's through this interview or through your book or through your Facebook or Instagram Live, whatever it is. You're going to connect so much, because I'm telling you, people have so much trauma, and what I hope from this episode is that whichever way you guys choose, whether you seek to speak to someone, which I think is amazing if you could, whether you take some time to reflect on yourself, the point is, take the time, and take your time. Because one thing my mom always says, and I say it a million times, Dios no tiene reloj, pero él siempre llega en tiempo. God doesn't have a watch, but he's always on time. So sometimes I know that we want to question our God, whoever God is to you, and sometimes we wanna be mad at him. But we have to understand that he would never put us through something that we could not handle. And that there is a lesson in everything we go through. And although there is pain, there's still a light either way. So you can stay in these emotions and deal with them. You can get into these emotions and deal with them, just don't stay in it.
Yeah.
The point is to not stay in it. So with that being said, I'm gonna end it right there. This was an amazing interview, and I appreciate you so much for being on it. And I can't wait for the response. I can't wait for people to listen in. Guys, if you guys are listening, you guys have you have the website. You can contact her directly. Send me a DM. Tell me what you think. If you have any questions, if you're questioning anything we said, I'm open to conversation. Let us know.
Yes.
But with that being said, Yosaris, thank you.
Today was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for your patience.
I hope you guys enjoyed this wonderful interview. I hope you feel that it was empowering and informative and enlightening, as it was for me, and again, please feel free to reach out, whether it's me or a friend or family or a professional, when it comes to speaking about any form of trauma that you may have. I know that it may be very difficult for some, and I really do hope that people find and see the strength of Yosaris, and that will somehow push you guys through as well. Other than that, thank you guys so much for all of your love and support. I hope that you guys have a wonderful week. Please stay positive, stay strong, and I'll see you guys next time. I hope you guys have an amazing day and that tomorrow's even better. And until then, I'll see you.